Oh, welcome to Native Wellness Institute's Wellness Wednesday. I'm coming to you live from Browning, Montana. and believe it or not, Nistuni Danako Makoyo Sakoi and your scripted Daki. This is Yellow Flower Woman's Room, my mother, who's 86. So welcome. We're gonna attempt to get out of her driveway. We got a couple feet of snow. It's negative 28 Fahrenheit here, and yesterday it was negative 58 Fahrenheit. So welcome to. I told Mom, I said, well, it's Wellness Wednesday, Power Hour, and so we've been So I just want to share some stuff, and this is just the wisdom of our mothers is the topic. The wisdom of our fathers is the topic. And my father, your father, they gave us a lot of wisdom. My mother, your mother, has given us a lot of wisdom to be okay during these times. And so, I just so the wisdom of our mothers, the wisdom of our fathers, and if they weren't your biological mother or your biological father, they still gave you wisdom. And it's wisdom in your DNA, it's wisdom in your thinking. Wendy Bremner was posted this morning about that if you're a healer, you're not becoming a healer. You just are. If you're a painter, you're not becoming a painter. You're already a painter. You just are. If you're becoming an author, a writer, you're not becoming. You're already an author. You're already a writer. You just are. You're not becoming an activist. You already are. Right now, as we come on in the 50 states, at the 50 capitals, there is nonviolent protest against Project 2025, against racism, against sexism, against stereotyping, against non-social justice. That's going on right now, and I tell you, I'm just transitioning. I've been over a week at the Bates, the Bay Area American Indian Two-Spirit powwow, and the week of celebration leading up to. And then I've been stranded at airports in San Francisco, stranded at airports in Seattle because it snowed in Seattle. Can you imagine? We couldn't really see all of it till our plane finally was leaving, and you could see all the snow, and we know we have to be resilient in the climate change. So this wisdom of your mother. So I was just here's my mom. I'm in my mom's bedroom, and what does she have right next to her bed? This sweetgrass. This. It's kind of a long, look at this long sweetgrass. And when you light this kind of sweetgrass, it changes the atmosphere. It changes the air when you light this. And this is her braid, so I'm not going to interfere with her braid, but I'm going to go, And I just want to share with you, it was storming, a very big winter storm, and even though War Pony, my Dodge Ram 2500, it was dangerous coming up from Great Falls. And I want to give a shout out to Fort Belknap, Jordan, Tiana, at Fort Belknap because Jordan was on the plane with me, and I was going to try to drive up because I thought if I could just make it to Browning. But sometimes, as an elder, and I am an elder, we need to listen to our own wisdom of our mothers. Because she said, I don't think you should drive up in the dark. I think that Potlatch, I think you're going to be doing some work, and Native Wellness Institute. You should allow us to, since we visited for this hour and a half and kind of had a meeting, let us buy your room in Great Falls. And of course, she said, where do you like to stay? Crystal Inn. So she actually arrived there before me, and everybody at Crystal Inn, they know me. They go, yeah, Theta. She said, stay here for the last 30 years when we first opened up. Yes, we can get her a room. And everyone else, the rooms were going fast because of the storm. People just needed to hunker down. Some places it was too icy, that kind of stuff. It's just winter here. That's normal. But you shouldn't be traveling at night, and I knew that. So I just wanted to share some of the mother's wisdom. You know, my mom has this wounded knee. She has a lot of books. She reads all the time. And she taught us. We were a reading family. My sister Lori is reading all the time, but now she likes listening to books. My brother Ira reads all the time, but reads technical stuff because of his job with the Bureau of Indian Affairs and his geology knowledge and his wildlife knowledge. Same with Wanda and our other sister, Kathy. She was a librarian. I think about all. So, but this book, this is called Voices of Wounded Knee. And you can Google it. I'm sure you can get it. But this was put out, and this is just to refresh you in what we do in 2025. My mother's wisdom is all with her colleagues and her activists in this book. And we were, this morning, I ended up coming here last night and I said, Mom, I just feel, just let me decompress. And she had cooked us pork chops and we're just Blackfeet. I brought her a chicken. I brought her some ribs. I brought her a ribeye to cook for later. And I brought her a whole bunch of vegetables. And then I brought her a salmon poke with fresh vegetables. And we were just like, I go, and Mom, I don't have much of an appetite because I ate something somewhere. Anyway, I wasn't feeling well. And I realized it was just all the delays and spending 12 hours in airports. I had good company, but just spending 12 hours in airports and not being able to get home. Oh my gosh. So I made the best of my time where I was. But I wanted to first, what is the wisdom in this book? I know I was telling her, I said, look at Olivia Bearchild was there. Stormy Bearchild, there was, the Moose Camp. There was so many, of course, there was Dennis Banks, and there was all of the team, there was all of the ones, but there's wisdom. And what Mom was, she said, we have to connect. And we were looking at the pictures, and she said, yeah, they were just res Indians. Look at how modest their clothes are. They didn't have much money. Look at how they were trying to feed everybody. But in every single picture, they're smiling. In every resistance picture, they're smiling. I could just randomly open. And, they have pictures of, the guys, the non-natives who were trying to murder them. the non-natives now who tried to murder Leonard Peltier. And then they just had resistance, just I once you start going through this, they just had all of the resistors. They had all of the women and the babies. So when I was sitting with my mom, she was remembering Leon Chiefalk and Sievert Youngbear, Kathy Youngbear, and the wisdom they had back then, like with Kathy Youngbear. And she had one son, and Kathy came from the res, and she had been in a bad car accident, so one of her arms was severed, so she didn't have a hand. But you couldn't notice because she would always have it tucked in her purse like that, and no one never noticed that she didn't have a second hand. Kathy Youngbear. But what is the wisdom there? Mom said, yeah, Kathy used to work when she was working at the Chinese place downtown Oakland. Kathy was working with the children, the big tall building down, and that's where they first met, because she would send, and he had a nickname, Duker, Youngbear. Her young son, she would send him down to eat lunch at my mom's restaurant, and so Mom got to know him. He got to know him as he grew up. Got to know him as everyone made him. He was a fancy dancer. Got to know him as Jimmy Jackson and them would taught him songs, resistance songs, the AIM song, all of the Lakota songs, all of the Southwestern songs. He learned, and he was always an ambassador because he kept his hair really long. And so think about that, the wisdom of long hair. Why we should keep our hair long, because it has our ancestors. Even when you're braiding, the wisdom of we're taught to braid mind, body, and spirit. That's why it's a ceremony when you braid someone else's hair. That's why it's a ceremony when you braid your children's hair. And that's why it's a courtship when you braid someone else's hair. Hair is so important. And even now, I was just, the wisdom of that book. Mom was just saying, look at them. They didn't have much money, but they knew they were resisting. They knew they had to come together. So think about that. They knew they had to let go of any kind of divisions or any kind of animosities, and they had to come together. And of course it touches my heart because she calls me Nellie. She said, Nellie, your role, and that's why I'm coming on here, her wisdom, is just to help people connect and stay connected. And we'll get through this. And so the lessons of staying connected. And thank you for listening to, this is Native Wellness Institute, Wellness Wednesday. We come on and it's positive, productive, and proactive. And we keep anything that keeps the teachings of our ancestors alive, we come on. And even, here I am, I'm going to try to get 2 feet of snow. I'm going to try to get into my house. And staying connected. Doug, David, and Judd Fitzgerald, I was messaging with them and they go, we chopped you a bunch of wood. I thought, here's my nephews. They knew I was coming home. And they went over and it's, I don't know, up in Bab, 25 below zero. And they chopped me a bunch of wood so that I would be warm when I came home. I set the propane, but I like wood heat. And here they were staying connected. And that's how we have to help each other. It's in lateral kindness and lateral generosity with each other. And especially, those of our relatives who have the anxiety or the fear. It's natural to have the anxiety and the fear. that's, what's, threatening to take away jobs, threatening to abrogate and to slice in half, and threatening to deport us. You mofo. I don't like to stick my finger up, but you mofo, you'll never erase us. You'll never, never erase us, because we will resist. And so that, I guess that my mom was, it's nonviolent, but she was saying, remember this, what we learned at Wounded Knee. I was looking at her Paul owns a saber painting here. He's got sun dancers, and they're got their eagle whistles. He painted this big thing for her a long time ago. And she said, remember, Nellie, on that third day of the Sundance, when you feel it's the hardest but the strongest day, when you haven't had no water and no food, but you just stay focused on the center pole. The star pops. I think about the center chief stick, that center pole of the Okan, that center pole of the Sundance. It's just like she said, like right now, when you say your prayers for that center pole, all those center poles this summer. We're preparing for the Sundance and the Okans this summer. So you start thanking that center pole. The wisdom of her, you start thanking. And even though it's out in the woods somewhere and it's still alive and it hasn't been cut and sacrificed its life for prayers, you pray to it. It's always preparation prayers. And that is more important than having anxiety but looking at the news. I was sharing with her, I said, Mom, I just went to celebratory events. I just went to Intertribal Friendship House with all of the elders. And like I said, the oldest one was 98. I just went to the even the All American Indian Cultural Center with April McGill and all of her crew and staff and all of the young people, 18 to 29. I just went on KPFA with Janine Antone. I just went on the 25th annual celebratory of LGBTQ in San Francisco. I just went and did clinic, talked to people in desperation, one-on-one. Then we had a standing room only talking circle on Cap Street. Then we had the celebratory opening. Gilbert Blacksmith, Aurora, Mamea, they honored allies. There's so many. Irma Pahi came. Randy. There was just so many it's interesting, Gene Highwater, I haven't seen him forever. All of these, they all came. There was like 4 generations of LGBTQ to spirit, and they celebrated, they feasted. And then then it's just interesting. We hadn't even got to the powwow yet. There was 5,000 people at the Bates 14th annual Bates powwow. And it started so humongous with the Azteca. And that, here's the second book, 1491, that she's reading it. And it's a book historically looking at what was it like when we were partying in 1491. What were the things, that they erased, but we knew that we had running water, we knew that we had crops, we knew that we had medicine, we knew that we had protocols of taking care of our people. There was all of this, a solid society. And so at the Bates, there was a Capal, the Azteca came in an angel, and there was more than 50. I didn't count, but there may have been 60 Azteca dancers, even down to the 10-year-old, the 9-year-old, and they brought in the Kapal. And Steve Barrios and I, we came from Sixaketepi, the Blackfoot Confederacy. We came because our kami poismanics, our stand-up headdresses, uplift the people. We're nothing. We're just human. But here we were. And of course, Stephen, he made a new dress. I think Craig, I'm not sure who, he had a new red dress and he put ermine on it. And here we are, we'd come in the grand entry with Lenny Hayes had the staff, and we had veterans and we had royalty. Anyway, the Aztecas, we went over and we took the Kapal and we smudged our headdress. And that's, Kapal is a medicine of the South, but it's always the medicine of when the condor meets the eagle. And that's that connection of the South and the North meeting each other. So again, I was just looking at the books Mom's reading right now, and I go, no wonder this is who raised me. When I was 4 years old, there was not kindergarten on the Blackfeet Reservation. There was not Head Start, but Mom was teaching me to read because she knew if I could read that I had an advantage of the English language. And so that was, I highly recommend this book. This is one. So what is the wisdom of this? Some of the wisdom of this book is we knew our medicinal plants. We knew our medicinal water. We knew our medicinal trees. We knew our medicinal land. We knew the seasons of the equinox, of the solstice. We knew the rhythm. It's just like now, yeah, okay, negative 58 Fahrenheit. It's hard to wrap your head around that. But I was driving there right before, the weather changed, putting out tobacco and saying, please replenish, please protect us, please let the Boxique, the grizzly bear, and the Kyo, let them sleep. Because Mom, she was saying to me, she said, I hope the bears stay asleep. And I go, Mom, they're sleeping really cozy. And then last night, I said, Mom, she's redoing her house, and I could sleep on the couch. She said, no, you sleep with me. So I thought, wow, my mom's like a grizzly bear. And we slept so good, and we dreamt good. I slept because I was transitioning back home from being in the city for a long time. And so what's the wisdom of this book? The wisdom of kinship, the wisdom of relationships. And Mom's just saying we just got to take care of us, do our self-care, take care of our families, take care of each other. And we were just happy when we saw the school bus go by, because yesterday they had to release everyone and let them go home. But the wisdom of kinship. So what is some of that wisdom of kinship? This is the time where we reconcile, we make peace. There's peacemaking with all of our kinship, all of our brothers and sisters, all of our cousins, all of our adopted. This is the time, that's that mother's wisdom, that's that father's wisdom, that we reconcile and that we ally with each other. I was just thinking, welcome to Native Wellness Institute Wellness Wednesday. I think Jolene and my sister Lori, and I'm not sure quite the other team members, they're on a Zoom right now. They're working with those who want to stop domestic violence, the sexual assault, and even all their funding. In lieu of some of this funding being threatened, they're on a Zoom to uplift, to organize, to coordinate, to reconcile, and to uplift, so that they have the confidence level and they're on a Zoom right now. I was just thinking, here's Jeline, and the rest of our team. They're out there right now. We got some in the Southwest and Phoenix area. We got some in the Coeur d'Alene. We have some of our team in California, in San Francisco. Aurora is part of our team. She still does her work, and she still comes and helps Native Wellness Institute. We got Jackie Blackbird at Belknap. We have all of these advocates and these allies helping each other. So again, I was just this is like the wisdom of mom. She said, you have to express gratitude. And when we woke up, it was just so sunny. The sun, it's still cold, but I said, oh, Mom, I knew I was home. As soon as I opened the curtains and it was sunny, she said, and that's where she said, you don't concentrate on the negative, you concentrate on the positive. Being grateful to be alive, being grateful that we have this food, being grateful that we have all of our young babies that were just born in our family, being grateful for those that we buried, because we lost Butch Newbreast, we lost Chief All-Over, we lost some of our kinship, but be grateful that you knew them. And so this is the humorous story, because Uncle Vernon, my mom's younger brother, he was this is just because the Hooderites used to try to snag on our women, and our grandmother was very sought after because she knew how to live off the land and make food and cook and just live off the land. And there was this one she was telling me his story, because they're great, they're gratitude stories, but she said, yeah, your Uncle Vernon was really mad because there was this one Hooderite coming around trying to bother Mom, Grandma Awalski. And so this is what he did, is he went and he put a rope underneath the snow, and here he went and took the end of the rope, and he was laying on the side of the outhouse. And here he knew right how that Hooderite would come. And so he waited. And so I said, Mom, he waited in the snow. And he goes, yeah, we were tough. He said he had his coat on, he had his overshoes on. They used to call them overshoes, kind of like rubbers, and his hat. And this Hooderite didn't see him. And so when he's coming over to try to, talk to our grandma, or, try to snag on our grandma, and back then, you don't have, you can't call on your cell phone or can't call the police. So anyway, the Hooderite, the Hooderite, right when he went past the outhouse and right where he had his two legs over where the rope was, my Uncle Vernon picked it up and knocked over this Hooderite. And then he went over there and just threatened him, you leave my mother alone. Don't you ever come back here. And he's just a little boy. I guess that was social justice. But I was just thinking I said, now I could understand Uncle Vernon, because Uncle Vernon, he wouldn't go to boarding school, so he never learned to read, he never learned to write, but he learned how to maneuver the world, and all the way, the way up in his lifetime, he wood hawked. He got everyone's wood. Everyone depended on him because he knew the good wood, the quaking ash. He knew the cottonwood. He knew everything, and he made a good living off of wood hawking, and he would save it, and it would to carry him through the rest of the year. And that's how, like, our Grandpa Cooper, his dad. It's interesting, I remember it was -11 for 11 days. It was 11/11, and he was out getting wood for all the elders and getting wood and here, that's where he passed away, up on Livermore, because he had this big, some people call them round, some call them blocks, a big block of wood. and he had his heart attack, and he fell, and he just on one knee holding his wood. That's and Mom, the wisdom, she said, that's how you're supposed to leave this earth. Doing that's the best. Be gratitude when you leave this earth like this. Most don't want to be in a hospital with tubes, ventilators, all that. But here's Uncle, and she was just telling me. So then it led to another story, and I'm just visiting with you today because we're connecting. I'm sharing stories with you. And so the other boarding school she started talking about, because her older brother Wilford, Mom started saying, yeah, when we went to boarding school and I ran away, Carol and Vernon were still there. And she said I would always take up for them. I was their protector. But she was also her older brother's protector, Wilford. She said there was a time when they would try to get out, and Wilford had gotten out, and here he got on this horse that hadn't been broken yet by the boarding school, and he was bucked off, and he broke his arm right here, and there was guess no cell phones, none of that. They took him in and they broke his arm, and so he got a cast. So this is when she was taken up for him. There was a young kid named Billy Sharp, and so nothing about you Sharp relatives. Billy Sharp was beating up Wolford, but here he had his cast on, and he was hitting him in the face. And so Mom said, she said, as soon as she heard, and she just ran to him, and he was bigger than her, and she was a girl. She said she got hold of him. She got hold of him, and she was choking him, choking him, beating him up, and then knocked him down, and then she said, and then just how he was beating up Wolford, I got on top of him, and then he stopped. That's how she said I even had to protect him. So I was saying, well, Mom, what's the wisdom? That's why is that in us? Because, I could go on many stories in places where I defended my sisters, our tribal, how we defend, and that's that connectedness. It's time to stand up. It's time to protect others. It's time that we don't put our head in the sand. It's time that we help each other in any way, and even if it's just a hug, and just to say, I love you. Just to say, pray for me and I'll pray for you. It's this time right now. It's this time that, and so I wanted to invite you to one of the Roger Prairie Chicken, and now all of our Blackfoot relatives. They're calling out to all the other regions. He said he was calling Leon Rattler and trying to get hold of Tyson Running Wolf. And this Saturday, let's see, 5, 6, 7, the 8th at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, they're asking everybody that has a pipe to smoke and to say prayers for our people at the same time. And so that connectedness, I was just I'm saying it to you now because it's just a reminder, because Roger was checking on me to make sure I could make it home through the snowstorm, and he said, just remember, you got to lift your pipe Saturday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So I'm inviting all of you to take out your pipe, and if you carry several pipes, then light your smudge, and to pray for our people, for the protection, for the resiliency, and for the tenacity, and for the goodness of that kinship that we're together. So that's another way. All of us, just like today, right now, my mother doesn't watch the news or watch television anymore because she's 86 years old and she likes her space to be sacred. And she's not she said that I'm not gonna watch things that are negative. I'm just gonna live life. So she wrote all her letters. This is, she has a little stack of Valentine's cards. It's just like even with her little grandchildren, she sends them a couple dollars. She sends them a couple dollars because she said you should always have a little change in your pocket. And they're so young, they're not. They probably wish they had a Venmo or something like that, or PayPal. And here's Grandma sending them a couple dollars in their Valentine's card because she loves them and she wants them to get mail and she wants them to write. So anyway. When we're done here, I'm gonna go shovel and get out the snow off of our trucks, run a track, get my mom out so I can start to go home and she can go mail her Valentine cards. I just think it's beautiful, that grandma's love, that mother's wisdom. No, I wanna just the other book that she just finished. This is my book. Oh wait, no, I better not, because she's looks like she's almost finished. What is the wisdom? Because very soon, it's more symbolically about social justice and freedom. And I know this is probably backwards, but it says, Prison Writings, My Life is My Sundance, Leonard Peltier. And I gave her this book when I left on this trip, and she reads a little. She said it's so powerful. I read a little, and I have to write in my journal, and I have to smudge, and I have to think about it. And so she said, this is some of our people, yes, they are locked up in prison. But some of our people are in a prison that they've made of their own. And when they read this is when it'll help them find freedom that they have. And so I thought, well, when you're done, Mom, because like I always have to read. I have to read myself to sleep at night because it's of comfort. But no, I'm just sitting. I just grabbed a couple books. What is the wisdom? What is the wisdom of Leonard Peltier, and what does he have to offer us? Leonard Peltier was a political prisoner of ours for 48 years. He was railroaded. And yes, he wasn't an angel when he was younger, but now, if you look at his paintings, if you look at what he painted and what he writes while he was in prison, you'll see that he self-actualized, that he became his authentic self, that he took all of the teachings. That's what he said, my life is my Sundance. And now at 80 years old, he gets to come out and to gently live the remainder of his life. What wisdom. And then Mom, at the same time, these were all of the Wounded Knee, back to Wounded Knee, back to the 70s, back to Alcatraz, back to Indian Religious Freedom Act, back to Indian Child Welfare Act, back to all of the civil liberties that we got in the 70s. That's the wisdom. I remember Mom working at executive director of the Child Resource Center in Oakland. And this was, I was just naive in so many ways. I remember only being 19 years old, and they didn't have Indian Child Welfare Act. So we used to take care of the children while their mother or their father, mostly mothers, were in treatment for drugs and alcohol. That was my first foster parenting. I learned so much from taking care of those children. And it was so hard. And this is the wisdom, when you take care of a young child, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, brand new baby. I had to, when you take care of them and their parents get okay, you have to give them back. And so there's that wisdom when you have to give them back. And that's when I realized the wisdom of when you fall in love with the child. And we know that wisdom by the children we have. They're always there. But these were foster kids. And, you know, and I shared this with you before. There was one baby, and I can't remember if the mom was in 90 days, but it was a long time. And she was 8 months old. And her name was Tiffany. And I took care of her, you know, and I was in college, but I started to fall in love with her. And the love, that love is so deep. You never want anyone to take that love away. And I knew I had to give Tiffany back. And it was like a yo-yo. There was, in my mind, I was just, because the mother had finished treatment and she was bettering herself, and that is her child. We're just a helper. But I loved her so much. I would cry, and I had contemplated kidnapping her, taking her. And then my other moral part would take over and say that isn't, you promised to take care of her while her mother was in treatment. You promised to keep her safe, and you've done that. You need to give her back. And so what I learned once I gave her back is that I wasn't mature enough. I was not, I just was who I was at, 19, 20 years old. I shouldn't foster parent anymore. So that was, I decided and get a mother's wisdom. Because she would say, "Oh, Nellie, I know you don't want to give Tiffany back. I think you need to, later on, if you decide to have your own children, or later on, you're going to understand that we cannot separate a biological mom from a biological child. And we cannot separate a biological father from a biological son or daughter, or LGBTQ. There is this spiritual bond." And so, I said, "Well, Mom, I guess I was making a boundary. I said, I'm going to make, after that, I don't think I can take any more children until I mature more." And now I see she was right. She was so right. Until I matured more, spiritually matured more, was I able to properly raise a child. Uh, and I think of that now, this mother's wisdom. That's why we need the kinship. Because all of us, we're not, gosh, mom and dad had me when they were 16. They made me, and then they were 17. Think about in your family, how old were your grandparents? I was thinking about Sitsi, Loretta Roundine. Mom was telling me Loretta was 13 years old when she had David Lee Roundine. And I just thought, whoa, how could you? And she said, because everyone helped. When you have a baby when you're 13, everyone helps. Everyone teaches you as you're growing. Everyone, and that's that kinship. So think about, maybe it's not raising kids, but this 2025, while we're going through this time, that's that connection. Everyone helps. Everyone is together. And that makes, I'm just so I have so much gratitude right now that I'm just visiting with you, and that you could, for this moment in time, for this hour, this Wellness Wednesday that Native Wellness Institute brings to you, that you could look at the kinship of blood, but the kinship of family of choice. And, in recovery, I think of Mike Duncan. I think of White Bison Relatives, NAFA. I think of the American Indian Cancer Foundation. All of us together, we're getting together in June, so you're welcome White Bison is, they'll be registering very soon, and it will be in Colorado, June 18th, 19th, and 20th. Come heal with us. Make a plan. Make a plan to come with us, because, and if it isn't, coming to us, make a plan. I was just enjoying my crazy dog brothers, Craig Falcon. Of course, he has no money, no nothing, and he's organizing a fishing derby to teach kids how to fish when the ice is frozen. But they're having a derby, and they're gonna have prizes of fishing poles and tack and all that kind of stuff. But here he is. He just puts it out there. I think it's March 1st, we're all gonna pitch in, because we're gonna teach all this survival skills. This, before 1491. One of the things that we might fish now, but how do we fish when it's solid ice? How do we auger into there? How do we fish and hunt and bring in the goods? Now, I know, Dwayne, I'm not a fluent speaker. I'm a practicing speaker, but I always sometimes he puts a word, and I should put it in here more, but it was a word, a Blackfoot word that says, I'm going to go out and get what we need for today. So think about that. I'm going to go out and I'm going to get what we need for today. And that's what you concentrate on, is the present. Not too much, letting go of the past, and not, anxiety about the future. Is I'm going to go out and get what we need today. And so that might have been, a buffalo. But now it might be a cheeseburger from the casino. I don't know. It might be just like, I was laughing because Mom doesn't eat a lot, but one of the things coming to her house and to stay is I overbought food. And here's that she cooked me pork chops. Anyway, just that kinship and how we rely upon each other. And I'm just I decided this is where my mom sleeps. This is her medicine. This is, her Golden State Warriors beaded medallion. This is where she carries. Mom danced many sun dances at Wombly, South Dakota. And then Mom danced many sun dances with Buster Yellowkidney. I don't know how many, but I just think about the wisdom of my mother, the wisdom of your mothers, and I'm sharing some of that so that it can help right now, so that it can help with what we're maneuvering through. And so then I want to think about for a moment. We've been concentrating on what is the wisdom of our fathers. My father was and your father, what was their wisdom? What about the father who just stayed steadfast and went to work? Stayed steadfast and persistent. All right, and my dad always had everything. It helped him to have everything organized. So he would even have all of whatever he had, and he'll put rubber bands around it. So when he passed away, he had all of these sacred things, and they'd be all organized. And so I think about that because in our family, all of my cousins, we all have a way of taking care of our nest, our household, our clothes, all of the things that we own and possess. We can't take it with us, but it's interesting how we nomadically can pack up. We just had a big healing of Mariah, Spare River massacre and commemoration. And just think of how when you have nothing and you're in the snow, and that's what I'm thinking about right now. How did they just make it through? They made it through, even with a little bit of frostbite. They made it through. Well, the wisdom of our fathers. My dad ruthlessly loved. he ruthless, and he was like born in 1937, the baby boy. But he ruthlessly loved Blackfoot. He would he would talk about White Quiver, because he took care of White Quiver till he passed away, and that's, he only spoke old Blackfoot. And but the wisdom that he gained, he took care of Joseph Iron Pipe. And of course, Sam Newbreast, both Sammy Jr. and Senior. And part of the wisdom is to ruthlessly love. And as I'm saying that, I'm just feeling, because my dad loved your kinship, love your horse. My dad had horse medicine. He could break horses. He had people liked him to take care of their horse till he could have it on a lead. And even towards the end of his life, he had a horse named Velocity. And my dad's wisdom was that horse you treat, because horses know, dogs know, and I think that's why we're all ruthlessly love dogs. We ruthlessly love horses. We ruthlessly love our relatives. It's like a ruthlessness. My dad's wisdom, because he would always say, take care of them. And what does it mean when you take care of them? It's not only, it's mind, body, and spirit. It's emotional. It's just like right now, I've been away from my pet foxes and my pet skunk. And I have some, some other mountain lions, and there's one wolf hanging around, but I haven't been home. So I brought a treat for them, because, they're low maintenance pets. They feed themselves and they have their own den. What about that? What if you have low maintenance relationships where you don't have to take care of them all the time, and you just allow them to take care of themselves and you spend time with them? So what else is Father's wisdom? It's almost in your DNA. There's in our male DNA, there's a wisdom of warriorness. There's a wisdom of to fight. There's a wisdom of resistance. There's a wisdom of, take no shit. I don't mean to cuss, but you don't take no shit. You stand up. You take a stand. You make a stand. That was the wisdom of our fathers. And just like today, so, we come to you every Wednesday. Welcome to Native Wellness Institute's Wellness Wednesday. Is what are you going to take a stand on? What are you going to take a stand on? And you might take a stand on being rigorously honest with your family. Express, to vent, to let go. I kind of feel like I went through a ceremony with my mother by coming to stay here and eating and praying. And we're praying and we're eating and we're sleeping. And I'm not going to pay attention to anything else, except I knew I had to come on for Wellness Wednesday and spend some time with you. So think about that self-care, just in our remaining minutes. I have to replenish, because when I was out there, Native Wellness Institute, our whole team, we give so much of ourself. We have to have boundaries, and then we have to come back and replenish. So the wisdom of both our fathers and the wisdom of our mothers is we have to replenish. And so sleeping good, eating good, laughing with your relatives. It's just like now I was just thinking, oh man, those guys just going down, my nephews, and chopping my wood. Because they ruthlessly love me. I ruthlessly love them. And they know, it's humbling, I'll be 69 in April. I'm getting older and I can't do it like I used to. I can't push like I used to, and I should not. So that wisdom where we let people help us. We ask people to help us. So think about that right now. If it's good to say to someone, just come spend time with me. Let's have a cup of tea. Just come spend time with me. I want to hug you. Just come spend time with me. We'll figure this out together. We'll negotiate together. Just come spend time. Ask for help. All we have to do is ask each other for help. Ask each other for to spend, and that's, I guess I was laughing because I went to San Francisco for a recess for 8 days. I was on recess. Remember during COVID, Native Wellness Institute would ask you to take recesses so you replenished. So I want you to go to pretend like you're on recess. Celebrate like when you were a child, you were on recess. Cook and dance like the Aztecas that were dancing, like the grand entry, like, just dancing for those who can't dance. Celebrate birthdays, celebrate weddings, celebrate the anniversary of your weddings, celebrate the anniversaries of coming out. I got to see young people who were just on the precipice of coming out as Two-Spirit. So beautiful. Celebrate it. Grab them. Let them that this is become who you really are. Celebrate it. And so as we always come and we try to give my encouraging words is to celebrate, to uplift, to connect, to get your wisdom of your mothers and the wisdom of your fathers and just bring it into your life. In Blackfoot, they always grab it and they bring it into your heart. They say hand to heart. And when you bring that in, everything's going to be okay. And I tell you, I'm just like, I was just looking, and yeah, it's the middle of the winter, but we're going to see the green grass. We're going to see Indian days in July. We're going to see basketball. Basketball. Don't mess with the basketball. Res basketball, you don't mess with that. So we still got to go to the tournaments. We still got to have graduation, brownie. All of these beautiful things, and that's what community is celebration, acknowledgement, and replenishing with each other. Say why, because like I've been hearing people say, God, I knew you then, but remember then they're mature now. They're a different person now. Meet the person now by spending time with them. Meet the person now with, just whatever they're reading. I just keep looking at these books because I know Mom, she has even a rhythm of the day, what she reads and what she journals, and she's taught us. And I guess my last thought, to always write down our dreams. And she said, I have to read this dream to you while you were gone. Or it was a dream that Leo, she calls him Uncle Leo Bolshu. And she read it to me, and she said they were at Haikuli, and they were cooking, and they were, what do you want? And they were saying, dry meat and back fat. Dry meat and back fat. And then she went on with the dream, and everybody, some in the dream, some were alive and some weren't. They'd already crossed over to Big Sandy, the sandhills, but they were preparing dry meat and back fat. And so I was just sitting there, and I thought, this is what I need to just be quiet and just let myself be held by my mother's wisdom. And if my mom's alive and I can do that, but if your mom is not alive, just go into her wisdom. Be with her wisdom. What's her legacy? What is your father's legacy? Just be with them, what they taught you, and then give it away to the ones that you're around. Do the same things. So that's all we have. You know, I'm just sitting here on her bed, very comfortable. I was trying to think, well, this is where my mom's spirit sleeps and dreams. I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna sit here and feel good. So with that, we'll Native Wellness Institute. We're in it with you. We're getting ready to have our healthy relationship training of trainers in Portland coming up next week. Coming up next week, we're ready to have our training in Hawaii. It's still a lot of people are registering. We're gonna get together. All of Native Dad's work. We're all getting together. We're staying connected. So don't worry. We've come through a lot, and we'll come through this presidency. So we'll see you next Wednesday.